Good morning, Shangam readers. It's Michelia, and today is Thursday, May 14th. And yesterday we talked about plot and setting, and hopefully you were able to figure out what the plot and the setting were in The Rough-Faced Girl. So the setting, obviously, it told us in the very beginning, it's on a village in the shores of Lake Ontario. And obviously we know this took place a long, long time ago. And clearly by the fact that people are living in wigwams and whatnot, we know that it is not present day Native Americans. So the next thing that you had to talk about was the plot. What was happening in this story? So we knew that there was an invisible being and that only someone who saw him was able to marry him. And we knew that the rough-faced girl's father had 3 daughters. He was very poor. 2 of them were very, very mean, and they took everything from their father, which then left nothing left for our Cinderella of this story, right? And she was forced to create her own garments. Now she's on her way to go to marry the invisible being. And so I don't know if you made a prediction or not yesterday. Hopefully you did. We'll see what happens, the effects of these different things happening in the story. So today we're going to finish reading The Rough-Faced Girl. And then for today, you are actually going to pretend that you are a historian that traveled back in time, and you get to interview the rough-faced girl. And you are going to come up with a set of questions to interview her. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So those are going to be the question starters for you. And you need to think about what has happened in the story and what kind of questions would you ask her if you were able to interview her. So without further ado, we left off with her looking like this. And I turned my light off today, so hopefully you can see the pictures better. And now, as she walked on, she saw the great beauty of the earth and the sky spreading before her. And truly she alone, of all in that village, saw in these things the sweet yet awesome face of the invisible being. Can you see the face? Isn't that pretty incredible? Let's see what happens. At last, she came to the lakeshore just as the sun was sinking behind the hills, and the many stars came glittering out like a fiery veil in the darkening sky overhead. And there, standing by the water's edge, was the sister of the invisible being, waiting. Now, the sister of the invisible being was a wise woman. When she looked at you, she didn't just see your face or your hair or your clothes. No, when she looked at you, she would look you right in the eyes, and she could see all the way down to your heart, and she could tell if you had a good, kind heart or a cold, hard, and cruel one. And when she looked at the rough-faced girl, she saw at once that, though her skin was scarred, her hair burnt, her clothes strange, she had a beautiful, kind heart. And so she welcomed her dearly, saying, "Ah, my sister, why have you come?" And the rough-faced girl replied, "I have come to marry the invisible being." Very different from when her sisters came to see her, right? "Ah," said the sister very gently now, "if you want to marry him, you have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen my brother, the invisible being?" And the rough-faced girl said, "Yes." "All right then," said the sister, "if you have seen him, tell me, what's his bow made of?" And the rough-faced girl said, "His bow? Why, it is the great curve of the rainbow." Ah, exclaimed the sister. I want you to be able to see the picture first. Ah, exclaimed his sister in excitement. Tell me, she asked, if you have seen my brother, the invisible being. What's the runner of his sled made of? And the rough-faced girl, looking up into the night sky, said, The runner of his sled? Why, it is the Spirit Road, the Milky Way of stars that spreads across the sky. Ah! Cried the sister in wonder and delight. You have seen him! Come with me. And taking the rough-faced girl by the hand, she led her back to the great wigwam and sat her in the seat next to the entrance, the wife's seat. Then they heard footsteps coming along the path, closer and closer. The entrance flap of the wigwam lifted up, and in stepped the invisible being. And when he saw her sitting there, he said, At last we have been found out. Then, smiling kindly, he added, And oh, my sister, but she is beautiful. And his sister said, Yes. The sister of the invisible being then gave the rough-faced girl the finest buckskin robes and a necklace of perfect shells. Now bathe in the lake, she said, and dress in these. So the rough-faced girl bathed in the waters of the lake. Suddenly all the scars vanished from her body. Her skin grew smooth again, and her beautiful black hair grew in long and glossy as a raven's wing. Now anyone could see that she was indeed beautiful, but the invisible being and his sister had seen that from the start. Then at last, the rough-faced girl and the invisible being were married. They lived together in great gladness and were never parted. So can you see how this book is similar to Cinderella, right? And yet extremely different at the same time. And I want you to think about the things that happened in this story. What was the rest of the plot in this story? And then today, like I said, you are going to pretend to be a historian, someone that studies things in the past. And you are going to be able to go back in time. You have a time machine that takes you back in time. And you get to interview the rough-faced girl. And what kind of things would you want to ask her? So the template that's attached today has some question starters for you. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. The 5 W's and the 1 H. And I want you to think about, really put some thought into the kind of questions that you would want to ask her and what you would want to know from her. And as a challenge, if you would like, you can pretend to actually then be her and answer the questions that you give her. That's another fun activity that you can do. So I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. And as always, if you need any help or you have any questions, please reach out to your teachers. We are here to help you. Have an amazing Thursday, boys and girls, and I will see you for Free Choice Friday. Bye.